Good morning. Buenos días otra vez. Buenos días. Oigan, contésteme el good morning de perdido. Ay, gracias. Good morning. Well, I hope you enjoyed our first panel of the day. Now, I want to introduce to you our second panel, that it's Insights Unplugged, Small Communities, Big Impact, and the Role of the EDCs in Driving Growth. For this panel, we have a great moderator. You already know her. She's the Director of Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Commercialization here at UTRGV ECC. So please help me welcome Linda Upland. Fuerte, por favor. ¿No se escuchó otra vez? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. And give it up for Grace. She's one of our students, and she's been our MC all week. She will be our MC all week, so I'm very excited that we get to give our students an opportunity to also be part of RGV Startup Week. In our world, our students are our support system. You know, we don't have big teams, and for us, they're just part of the team. You know, they got to do all the duties like a full-time employee. So thank you, Grace, for, and everybody in my team, everybody that they do at BCIC as well. So we're going to get started because I know some of our panelists have work to do. So I'm going to bring up to the stage our panelists, and then I'm going to step off the stage because Insights Unplugged is not about the moderator. I know you all want to see me talk, but no. It's about them, and it's about highlighting the work that they have been doing in their communities for growth, for small business development, and so many other things that they will talk to you about and they're excited about. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first panelist, which is Daniel from ELSA EDC. And I'm going to go by first names because this is Insights Unplugged, guys. This is not formal. This is conversational. Come on up, Daniel. But his last name is Rivera. Jeffrey from Los Fresnos Economic Development Corporation. Welcome to the stage, April from Donna Economic Development Corporation. Go, Donna. And I'm very excited to introduce Melinda from Rio Grande City Economic Development Corporation. Good morning, my panelists. I'm going to step down because this is going to be, and we don't have enough chairs, just kidding. All right. So we're going to get started, and I'm just going to basically guide you through some questions. However, feel free to expand on any of the information that you would like to share with the audience. To start, I want to ask each one of you, and please, answer as we'll start over here with Melinda and see, how you feel, and then we'll go from there. So can you briefly describe your community and the role that your Economic Development Corporation plays in supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs?
Well, as the rest of my fellow EDOs here, Rio Grande City is a small community. We are the county seat of Starr County. So we are basically the center of the whole county. And if you need anything, or everybody goes to Rio Grande City. We support our small businesses. As much as possible, they are the very backbone of our community. So we always try to have some sort of partnership with them, to reach out to them, form some sort of relationship with them, to let them know that we are there for them, whether they need advice or help with resources. We try to be there so that way they know to come to us, so that way they can get the information that they need.
Thank you, Melinda.
Yeah.
April?
Good morning. So I'm with the City of Jana. 10 months in, we are building the economic development program from the ground up. So I get to start it and structure it the way an EDC, quote unquote, should be structured. We're a population of about 17,000 or so. Growing, we're in the middle of the whole Rio Grande Valley from Roma to South Padre Island. You fold the map, we're in the middle of that. And really in the role right now, because we're building it as we're going, is just really trying to establish those relationships with the business owners that are there currently. We have a very strong entrepreneurial spirit. Some of the businesses have been there for more than 20 years. We have one that's been there for about 65 years that we did a milestone ribbon cutting for a couple of months ago, all woman-owned through generations. So it's just establishing that relationship, going door to door, knocking, introducing myself to them, and just really trying to create that ecosystem within each other there in the city.
And yes, before Jeffrey, my mistake, please let us know where your city is located and maybe the population. So we'll come back for you, Melinda, or if you just want to add that on, you know.
Yes, Rio Grande City. We are a population of 15,310, 12. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeffrey.
So my name is Jeffrey Rosas, and I work for the city of Los Fresnos. Our population is 8,500 and growing. We're a community where family is very important. Football is important. Big on community events. So we have a wonderful little league. So everything that the city does is a lot of it is school focused. We have a big Los Fresnos CISD zoning that's everything from Mountain Glore and up. So I like to think that Brownsville is kind of growing into Los Fresnos, North Brownsville. And a lot of the work that I do is kind of similar situation to what April's doing with Donna. We're just kind of starting in our first year of establishing the economic development organization with somebody leading it and implementing structures and procedures that are going to help Los Fresnos grow and position itself for all the growth that's coming to our area, our region.
Great, welcome. So we have 2 newbies and 2 established, in a way. Daniel?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Rivera. I'm the EDC director of ELSA. ELSA is an interesting place in the RGV. ELSA is in an area that people refer to as the Delta, and I always tell people, Linda, that asking the population is the wrong question when you talk about ELSA, because ELSA is only 6,000 people, but we're connected to EdCouch, La Villa, Monte Alto, and a huge area around there. And what I tell people about ELSA that's very interesting is that we are not connected to the expressway like most people are. But if you take Edinburgh directly east or Westaco directly north, you run right into the heart of ELSA. And so what we've become known for is the rural hub of anyone who basically lives north of Westaco, east of Edinburgh, and that whole area that's not really connected to the expressway. And so we have a strong retail base. We have a lot of traction, a lot of momentum, and we're growing very rapidly because of that. And so the other interesting thing is, and I think we jokingly say, like, who's the center of the valley? We're in a tri-county area, and we're very connected to Hidalgo, Star, and Willacy. And so we have a lot of traffic that comes in from Raymondville as well. And so I think as you explore the valley and you learn more about the different cities, and we learn from each other, everyone's in a unique position. And so a lot of times you sell your unique position and you look at it and how you can leverage that. And so ELSA's an interesting place, and it's fun to be there.
I think so. I think all of you have very interesting uniqueness about your communities. I mean, my daughter goes to Los Fresnos, Jeffrey, so I know about football. She's a dancer, so oh my God, those football games are brutal, you know. So with that in mind, you know, and we'll start over here with Daniel. Tell us a little bit about what are some of those priorities as a community, you know, and as an EDC that, you know, right now can support, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit, and how, you know, that you mentioned you work within other communities that are close by to really become that delta, you know. So what are some of those top priorities that you have as established EDC, and for all of you that don't, what are some of those top things that you will be looking for in continuing the support for our entrepreneurs and small businesses?
So I've kind of was in April's shoes 3 years ago, and so when I started in ELSA, there was no EDC really established, and kind of built it from the ground up. And so since I've been there for the past 3.5 years, I really focused on, number one, connecting the entrepreneurs to the resources that are around. I think a lot of people, it's not necessarily that there are not resources out there. They don't have access to them, or they're not aware of those resources. And so we do a lot of different things within our city to make sure that the Delta area is connected to those. One of them was a partnership with UTRGV's Small Business Development Center, and we became one of their hubs for that. And so once a month, we have a SBDC advisor come into our office, and we provide the access to the people in the Delta area to come in and meet with an advisor. And that was something that was never done before. Before, they would either have to drive to Westaco or drive to Edinburgh. And if you look at a lot of small businesses, they're running their shop, right? They're on the cash register, they're baking, they're cooking, they're doing the service calls. So to drive 30 minutes somewhere, to meet with someone for an hour and drive 30 minutes back is a big part of their day, and a lot of times that means losing money. And so, bringing the access to within the city limits was a big thing that I really focused on, and making sure that they're aware of all the resources beyond SBDC that are out there for them to help them to make them feel supported.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
I work closely with a lot of our local businesses, and when I first started, I was trying to figure out what we could do to help the local businesses, since we didn't have anything already in place other than the facade grants, which are grants that businesses can apply for that help with signage, storefront, and interior decorating. So I had that to work with, but what I did is I got together with some local business leaders. We had maybe like 5 meetings. After those 5 meetings, what we ended up doing was we had a roundtable discussion, and we were talking about what we could do to connect the business to resources, what kind of programs the economic development organization could implement to help small businesses. And we ended up coming up with Los Fresnos Business Circle, which is a roundtable format where we invite the business owners in a local community, entrepreneurs, anybody interested in learning about business, no matter where they're from. They don't have to be from Los Fresnos. And we do get people from Brownsville and San Benito that come to these meetings and events. And so we ended up doing our first event at one of our staple restaurants, Julia's. We had about 40 people that showed up. The community really showed up. It felt like they needed this. They needed a place where they can connect and network. So the whole purpose was to connect, communicate, and then collaborate, which I believe are the 3 things that we focused on immediately because we saw the need through our discussions to provide that space. After that, we've had 7 so far, and they've all kind of taken a different shape. We changed the times because, like Daniel said, business owners are busy. They don't always have time to go to these events. So just being able to provide a monthly event that they can attend, and changing the times in the hopes that the businesses that weren't able to attend the ones previously, they can attend these. So that's what we're doing. Just kind of, we're small communities. We're able to go and talk to our local business community. I think that's one of the big advantages. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy connecting with local businesses. Coming from a background where I was in business before, and we struggle and we wish we had resources. We didn't know about resources. So focusing on what resources we can find and how we can connect our community to those resources is the big focus for us.
So I love what both of them had said, because that's something that we're implementing there too with City of Donna. So when I first started a month in, would go door to door, knock on these businesses and just introduce myself and ask them what they were needing, lacking, wanting from the city, wanting for their business growth, their plans. And the majority of them said business connection. They're like, I don't know who my business neighbor is. I don't know really anybody in City Hall. Like, I just want business connection. I want to connect with other business owners in hopes that my business grows. So with that, we started establishing quarterly business mixer. So the very first one that we did, we had about 55 people attend, and out of the 55, 30 of them were local business owners, because they brought in their spouses and their staff and so forth. And then I had city leadership go to that same business mixer, and that way they can connect. We just had our 3rd one a couple of weeks ago, our 3rd business mixer, and it just keeps growing and growing. And the 3rd one that we had are now people from outside Donna coming in, those that serve the region. They're like, well, I'm not in Donna, but I serve the whole region. Can I go to your business mixer? I was like, sure, come on over. And that's really at a minimal cost to us, because I try to go to different venues that are willing to showcase their venue at no cost, right? Because then in hopes that they get to book it. And then I go to a local restaurant and ask to see if they want to cater for a minimal cost, because I know the food is expensive. And then the venue that is hosting it, they're the ones that purchase the drinks. So it's the only thing I pay is the food. And when I go back and I follow up with the ones that hosted the venue or the restaurant, they say, thank you so much. I was able to book 5 weeks in a row already because of the ones that attended, and they saw my venue, they saw the space, or they tasted the food and so forth like that. So we did the business mixers, and then from there, we started doing, on the last Friday of every single month, what we call the lunch hour connections, where it's just a group of us that we go, we hang out, we chill, we talk, all while supporting a local restaurant in the city of Donna. You pay your own meal, right? Everybody has to eat lunch. So we'll go from the hours of 11:30 to 1:30. So whenever your lunch hour is, you go and you go to that local restaurant, and we've averaged anywhere between 15 to 20 different local business owners that go and support another business owner, along with city leadership as well. So that's been a huge success. And then when we follow up with that restaurant we went to, how's your sales going, things of that sort. They say, oh no, we've been getting a little bit more because you all have supported word of mouth, and then of course on social media. So we're doing little small things like that, and then of course connecting with SBA as well to do some virtual sessions for the business owners.
That's great. That's great. Melinda?
Yes, I want to say that I'm seeing a pattern here where we always try to leverage whatever resources we have. So for us, it's about the same thing. We have had, since I have transitioned because I'm relatively new to this role. I've been 6 months, a little over 6 months in already, and previously I was the communications coordinator for the EDC. So we would have lunch and learns, and at one point we had done the Rio Grande RGC Business Breakfast Club. So now that I've transitioned and I have a new person on staff, we're reintroducing these programs. And the Rio Grande City Business Club or Breakfast Club was that our business owners have very limited time to outside of what their responsibilities are. And basically, we wanted to invite them over. For the most part, a lot of our businesses are open usually by 10 o'clock. So we figured, you know what? Let's have them in before. We'll go to a local restaurant. We'll go ahead and have coffee and maybe one menu item, and a topic where it's kind of like, you know what, come in, network a little bit, meet some people, meet some board members, meet some of the commissioners, meet your fellow business owners, and we'll have a topic in which you can do something actionable for your business at the event and get you on the way out the door, so that way you can get to what you need to get to. So our very first one that we had was get your business on Google. So it was I did the presentation. We had, I only asked everybody to bring their phone. And in your phone, we said, you know what? Your business needs to be on Google. It's so easy. We can do it on your phone. 10 minutes less. We had 3 or 4 people because some of them already were on Google. So it's kind of like, okay, well, thank you for coming and meeting everybody, right? But we got those businesses on Google. And again, like out the door, and they were able to go ahead and get what they needed to get done for their day. And we have some other topics lined up. We also have our lunch and learns. So that way we can have, again, something for our business owners to do something for their business, and again, actionable, so that way they can see results. That's all.
And I think the common, what I've seen, in terms of what each one of you are focusing is connections, that connectivity with your community, with your businesses. And I think that's so important to because it starts there. It starts getting to know who's in front of you, who are you servicing, and who can you connect, and how you connect them together. Because I'm a true believer on peer-to-peer knowledge. You know, that, I mean, I can facilitate for 10 hours, but if there's no connection between the participants, that's what brings so much more value when you connect people together.
And I want to say, when we were doing our very first Rio Grande City breakfast club, business breakfast club, we had people talking amongst themselves, showing each other on their phone, no, here, you got to press over here, or you got to go here. So we got them to help each other out. And I considered that like very successful.
Yeah.
And again, you know, it's kind of like, you know what? I was able to get my business on Google. I got some help. I got to meet some people. I got free breakfast. And now I'm going to work, and I'm opening up my doors and getting my day started, you know, so
Well,
yeah.
it's all about support, you know,
Yeah.
again. So with that said, though, I mean, when you are trying to plan all this activity with your community, there's sometimes challenges. How do you get them into the door either the first time, or for them to be consistent, and for them to keep coming back, or take advantage of the resources that all of you are offering to those businesses? Sometimes these people are busy, you know, they don't have time, they don't think they need it, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some of the challenges that you all have seen while either starting your journey, or starting to embark in this new journey of providing support, or that you already have that have come to, that you have to kind of, you know, oversee, or you have to kind of like, okay, well, I have this challenge, how am I going to, you know, work it out? So what are some of those challenges that you guys are seeing in your communities about engaging with businesses or bringing them in the door? Or you guys are cool enough that you're just like, I have no challenges. What are you talking about? So I see your face, Daniel, so we're going to start with you.
There's definitely challenges, and I think part of it is when you have small businesses, and like I said, they're behind the register and they're doing those things, time is always an issue. One of the things that I really focus on is just making sure that every interaction has high value. And so if you provide high value in your first interaction, and you know they feel like you're not wasting their time, because time is valuable, then it makes it easier to get that next interaction again. And I think naturally a lot of people, you know, they see the government coming and knocking on the door, and it's like, oh, it's a tax, or it's, you know, they want something from me. And I think that kind of creates a guard. And so a lot of times what we do is we try to provide like such high value initially that there's reoccurring things. And so if your event doesn't have high value, then they're not going to go to the next event. And so we really focus on those things. One of the businesses that I look to is Savannah Bananas. They've completely reinvented baseball. And if you look at them now, I just saw recently they've booked Kyle Field, and they go into these huge stadiums, and they provide such high value from the second you call to buy a ticket to the show that you stay through the whole game. And so I tell my team that I want to be Savannah Bananas of economic development. I want to focus on experience. I want to focus on high value, high impact, so that we get repeat people to come in and participate in all our programs. And so focusing, I think one of the things you spoke about was the Google thing. So one thing that we did was, instead of just knocking on the door and saying, hey, I'm here to help support you, we did with one of our interns what we called the Google Business Audit. And so what the Google Business Audit was the facade improvement program, but for the digital facade. And so whenever you look at a community and we're trying to get people to stay and eat and shop within ELSA, well, most people are going to Google it. And if our community is not on Google, then we're missing out. They may leave to a different town to buy that service or buy that product. And so instead of knocking on the door empty-handed, we knocked on the door with a report card that said, hey, congratulations, you passed the Google audit. You get a certificate, and they are excited to receive something for free. And a lot of them would post that on their wall, and you walk into a restaurant, it's still on the wall. Or it's like, hey, you got 3 out of 5 or 7 out of 10. We can help you kind of check off those rest of the boxes. And we sat there with an iPad, and if they weren't ready, we'll come back when you're ready, when you're not busy. And now we provided value up front for that interaction. And like I said, they want to speak to us again. It was free, it was value, and now we say, hey, by the way, we have Coffee and Connect coming up in 2 weeks. You should join us. And so if this first interaction was valuable, then what am I going to get out of this next interaction? And so we started building momentum that way.
gonna steal your Google audit. So I'm gonna call you so we can brainstorm. And that's what we do. I think we call each other and just brainstorm. What are you doing there? And what are you doing there? And can you send me your application just to kind of look at it and see how we can like implement it for their own city. So I'm gonna steal that.
So I call that benchmarking. You know, I'm a true believer that you don't copy things, you benchmark things. Because why reinvent the wheel when there's somebody else doing it successfully? So I feel like that's a commonality between all of you as you have conversations between each other. Jeffrey, you want to talk about as a new EDCs, what are some of those challenges that you're seeing as taking off with your activity?
Well, we see the same thing, similar things with business owners being too busy to come out or talk to you. And so I just kind of think about it as they'll eventually answer the phone or they'll eventually talk to you. So you just got to keep making the rounds. And like Daniel said, you got to provide value. When you provide that value, then they'll come. And one of the ways we look to provide value is by taking feedback at every event, taking feedback in person. I send out emails asking some business owners to do surveys, and I get like 7 or 12 back. But that little bit helps because then from what I hear and what I see, I can kind of start talking to the team that I have. Our community is great, right? We have local business leaders that are willing to sit down with me and kind of help me brainstorm what we should do for our next event. And because of that, they can also market those events. They can also speak to the value of it. And I feel like when we all get together and align in our views as far as we want our community to grow, we want the best for our community, we're all invested in the community. So because of all these things, everybody has a stake in it. And because they have a stake in the community, when we get together and provide that communication that we're aligning in the goals of putting these resources together, putting events together, then that's what really helps bring in those other business owners that may not have a lot of time. That's when they say, what's going on over here? That I see this event happening every month. And sometimes they'll talk to me and they say, hey, what's this all about? And I say, well, we're doing this to provide value to our businesses. Like I specifically say that we're providing value to our businesses, and I want to provide value, so give me your feedback. Come talk to me in my office. We're a small city. We have, I work out of the city hall. My office is right up front. I have my doors open. You can just walk in. If I'm not busy, we can have a conversation. And many business owners have come in and started a conversation, and an hour or hour and a half later, they're leaving. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time. I said, no, this was great. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this 1-hour conversation that I wouldn't have had if you didn't feel comfortable coming in here. And so providing that availability, they may not come quickly, and the challenge is always going to be there where business owners are busy, but constantly looking to provide opportunities is I think, something that works. And it works really well from what I've seen. I just started, but like April said, we talk to each other, we get ideas, we go to events, and we see a lot of things that are similar, but every city is so different. You have to cater what you're doing to the city that you're working in. So yeah, that's how we do it there in Los Fresnos.
Yeah, we have challenges for sure at the city of Donna. For one, we don't have a chamber of commerce, so I'm doing chamber activities along with the EDC side of it. So recruiting, industrial, retail, all of that. I'm doing ribbon cuttings and ground bakings and the mixers, and so we're doing both. And it's just myself and a secretary trying to handle it all, which so far it's been working out great. But it's just because we're such a small team, my priority list keeps going down because I want to make more of those value connections with UTRGV, STC, and for them to come in and have those presentations for the business owners as those other things always go up. So I'm hoping by summertime I get an intern. Maybe you can hook me up with an intern.
I will hook you up.
to kind of help us do, get some of those priorities up on the list, because I also handle the social media marketing for EDC, and so I need somebody in the marketing part of it. But yeah, I have a lot of challenges. I know they're there. They're on my list. It's just recruitment is always on the top, right? So.
Of course. And then, yes, I will hook anybody up. Actually, career service is now under, my boss, and I think you all know who my boss is. So, we have right there. Melinda?
We have the same challenges. I find that if you just constantly go out and revisit and just remind them, hey, like I'm here. Whenever you're ready, come by the office, or whenever you're ready, don't forget that we're here. We've had businesses come out and say, hey, I'm kind of struggling here with this, and like what can you do to help? And then it's kind of like, okay, well, let me, what's going on? What is it that you're needing? And then it's a point of just let me get back with you because I'm going to research it. And then going back and letting them know, okay, this is the information I found. Maybe we can't help you because our funding and our resources are limited, but there's other organizations that we partner with or that we have partnerships with, like Workforce Solutions for employees, UT RGV SBDC for trainings. We have Communities Unlimited, Lift Fund, People Fund, so it's kind of like just getting those resources together and then passing it along to them. So that way, like, what, we can offer you some of these things, but we can't offer you some other things, but here's some contact information, reach out to them. And that's how we go about helping our small businesses, yeah.
Good, good. So talking about these businesses, and I think, Daniel, you touched on this, that, sometimes they knock government and they get, wait, what? I do know by working with EDOs that you have to follow certain metrics, that you have to account for how many businesses are you helping, what's that job creation looking like? I mean, what kind of, depends on what data you're either trying to collect or you are collecting, how do you make this, or how is your process in talking to these small businesses that are mom and pops that are very, here in the Rio Grande Valley, you all know we're like, no, esto es mío, this is mine, so I'm not gonna share the information with you. How do you go about having those conversations with your businesses so you can receive the data that you need to then accountability for the work that you're doing? Or is that something you don't really consider at this point? Because we're driven by data. So data kind of, it's part of how we get funded, how we do this, how we get access to other resources.
I think definitely everything starts with the relationship. So once you start building that relationship, you earn trust. And once you earn trust, then it's a little bit easier to get some of that data. And when you build the confidence in them that you're not using that data to go share with their neighbor or their competitor, then they kind of will hand over some of it or most of it. I think the other thing too is when we look at just like the Main Street type of businesses, we can look at our retail numbers and see what kind of spikes we see. And then another program that we have is with Lift Fund. Mm-hmm. And Lift Fund does a really good job of doing some of the business coaching and some of those metrics. And Lift Fund, once they help out a business and money's infused into the community, they run their own reporting as well. And so you piece together the data that you can get. And so obviously working with UTRGV and size department or Lift Fund or getting data, compiling all that and seeing what impact you're making. I mean, you want to see what your efforts are moving the needle, and being able to adjust from that data is super important. But data becomes a scavenger hunt sometimes.
Anybody else want to?
I think it's more you have to start off relationship building and conversational. And not like, oh, how many employees do you have? Not transactional, right? And I think through that conversation, you'll start getting a little bit of the data that you need. But it's like inviting them, hey, let's go get a cup of coffee and just talk crap, like let's just go shoot the stick type of deal. And then you build the trust, and then from there, that's where you start, connecting with them a little bit more at a business level, so that way they can share data and they know that you're true and you're real, and you're not going to go share their insider productions to another organization or anything like that.
I agree. Yeah, you got to start with the conversations in the community and trying to get a good feel for what's changing and what you're seeing. It's hard to quantify. And with small budgets, it's hard to get those, those organizations that can help you quantify. But Daniel has Lift Fund, and I know they can quantify, and so that's something that we're looking into to see if we can not just quantify, but help the community. And so the way I started, I asked what would my success look like in this role, and they said, well, get an HEB in Los Fresnos, and
Oh, órale.
and then you'll be successful. And so that was a year ago, and they're still not in Los Fresnos. But eventually, like I feel like we continue working the community quality of life. Also, we had an event, Earth Day event, and I had somebody use a clicker to track people, and so we were quantifying how many people visited that event or registered for the raffle, and that's just kind of how I'm gauging it at the moment. But as we're growing, you're constantly looking at what you can do to quantify. You also have your BR&E, business retention expansion, that you can pull up an Excel sheet or track it however you like. Right now, I had an Excel sheet and it's empty right now. I need to continue working on it because of the day-to-day and what have you. There's other events that I feel are more important at the moment. Not that that's not important, but like since you're starting off, you're trying to figure out what to prioritize, and so that's what we're working on. What I'm working on right now is just structure.
Nice, nice. Melinda, anything too?
Well, as far as like, well, I know they were joking around as far as they are a one-person shop, and I have a couple of additional. It's not only just me. I do have 3 others on my team. But even then, like we're small teams, and there's only so much we can do. So as much as we tried to do, at one point something has to at least pause while we take care of something else, and then it's kind of like we come back to what we were doing, or hopefully at least what we want to prioritize. Sometimes we don't get to prioritize what we want to, so we implemented for the Rio Grande City a business retention and expansion, and my goal is to visit 2 to 3 a week businesses, and I don't have rhyme or reason. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Let me go check out this business over here. Like I haven't been over there in a while, or they're relatively new. Let me go check them out. So I'll call, or I'll go and I'll just introduce myself, and I'll a conversation. Like hi, how are you? I'm Melinda. I'm with the EDC. How's it going? Like what are y'all doing? Do you have some time today, or would you like for me to come back? Let's sit down and talk. How are you doing? And then you find that they do open up to you anyway. I haven't had a situation where it's kind of like, no, I don't want to share anything. For the most part, it's kind of like, yeah, like, oh, we're doing good. Oh, we're not doing that great. Yeah, I got about 3 people working, or no, it's just me by myself. But again, it's just creating that personal relationship, and people will open up to you. Yeah.
Does any of you use any type of, platform, AI kind of?
I had a subscription to Placer AI, and Placer was really good because you could draw geofences around different businesses. And so back to the adding value thing, I would show up to a business with a report already. I wouldn't ask them, do you want a report run? And just show up and say, this is your report over the last quarter, over the last year. And a lot of times, I'd invite them to sit down and go over those things. And so just tracking those different things that would provide them an opportunity to better their business and see where, maybe there's trends that they're not even aware of. And so they know that the summers are kind of slow, but how much slower, and what does the daily foot traffic look like, and stuff like that. You could also use it for events, like Jeffrey was saying. Instead of using a clicker, you could draw a map around your park and say, okay, well, this generated X amount of visits over the weekend. And so that's helped out a lot. And it really, that was one of the first things I did when I moved into Elsa, was trying to understand where I was, what the traffic flow looked like, and identifying, gaps that we could address quickly.
Definitely. And I think as we move forward with this AI concept coming into play for everything, it probably will definitely eventually play a part in in data collection in terms of all economic data that we're trying to, all of us, including ourselves as UTRGV, we're based on the numbers on who we service and how much that impact is. So moving into that impact, let's highlight some of the businesses in your communities, because this is all about them and all the good things that are happening. So can you talk to me about a success story, helped or not, that you have in your community that is worth mentioning? And what its big impact in your community looks like? What does that look like in your different cities? So I'm gonna open it up instead of saying no. Everybody, just go for it.
I'll go first. So with the implementation of the business mixers, the local bank that's there, because we have 3 banks, but one of the smaller banks called me last week and said, thank you so much for having these business mixers. I have increased my accounts because the other business owners have now opened bank accounts with them. So they've closed their big international bank accounts and went to the smaller one because he's literally down the street. And then he goes and he does presentations for the employees for the direct deposits and things of that sort, so that way they open bank accounts. So to me, that's success, because that's that ecosystem of that business to business, that collaboration part of it. And then a local construction group as well that's there has gotten a couple of contracts to small little renovations or things of that sort. But that, to me, that's success, right? So I'm gonna leave it as that. But
I'll go next. Because we recently just had a business success panel, and so it's fresh in my mind. We have a barbecue spot that you may have heard of. It's called Herm's Smokehouse. And so it's a success story in the sense that the business owner didn't know what he wanted to do for a business. I believe he wanted to open up a coffee shop first, and then his friend told him, what do you love to do? I love to barbecue. He barbecued for his local church, for fundraising, and so that's how it came about. He opened up there. He had some issues opening up, and he had to eventually quit his job because his job didn't let him have a business at the same time as he was working his job. It was a conflict of interest, so he ended up going full speed ahead with the business. And when he did that, he poured so much into the business and community by doing fundraisers for the community that the community showed up for him. And a lot of our businesses, they say their success is because of the community. So it's just like the businesses geared their focus to the community. And I always think about it as you're not running a business to make a profit. You're running a business to solve a problem, to put a solution out there, to provide value to your customers. And it's a little bit of a shift of mindset there, but I just see that as a common theme in successful businesses. They pay attention and focus to that customer service or that support or that community engagement, where they provide something for the community, and then they're successful because then the community is out to help them and support them. So Herms is one. They got Daniel Avila. He got Citizen of the Year just recently, and so that was very exciting. We have another business called Stephanie's Cheesecakes, and interestingly enough, there's 2 cheesecake places in Los Fresnos. So I like to highlight that because it's a very rare thing to see. It's a very niche market. So Stephanie's Cheesecake just expanded into San Benito, and they started during COVID. So you can imagine that they had to go through a lot to get to where they're at today, and they connected with the community as well. Again, all these businesses connected with the community. We have another business called Star Insurance that the business owner is a member of the Community Development Corporation Board. She got involved with the chamber. She's a Rotarian. Our community is very involved, and I see that because when you get involved, you start seeing more of what you can do for your community, and then you do it and you become successful. And so Star Insurance is opening up a business plaza. So now they're providing a space for other businesses as well. And again, that's economic development. That's what you want. You want there to be more jobs. You want there to be growth, expansion. And then Julia's restaurant, she just continues to grow. That's a staple there. Everybody knows that if you want to meet somebody for lunch or breakfast, you can meet them at Julia's. And there's certain people you can find at Julia's. If you're trying to look for someone, you know that they're at Julia's one day of the week. And so it's very nice to have that tight community where you just see people you know at these restaurants. And Julia has a great story there in Los Fresnos. They've been in business for 34 years. And so they just recently won an award as well. And then the last one I'll mention is Robin's Cheesecakes. They've been in business for a year. They went through a business expo there in Los Fresnos. Before I started working there was a business expo, and they connected with SBA, SBDC. Arturo helped them. He was great helping them do their business plan and helping them like figure out what their whole strategy was. And then they started implementing that strategy, got connected with the chamber, got connected with the EDC, and they got connected with the community once again. And so those are the stories that I see there in my community, that they also connect with the school district. The school district's there, they go to these businesses, and we all kind of pour into each other. So that's pretty much it to sum it all up. The success I see there in those businesses, and I can highlight them off the top of my head. Those are the 5 that we had at our business panel. And I can name more, but I'll stop there to give Daniel time, or Melinda.
All right.
Okay, so I think, so one of my favorite words right now, because I'm in love with AI and like the tech space, is stacking, right? So if you talk to someone who's building something, they stack different apps or programs and things like that. And I think what we do a lot of times is we're stacking our different programs to help the entrepreneurs depending on where they're on their journey. So one success story that I want to highlight is our mom and pop hardware store, who's called Express Hardware. And when I first started, they were one of the first businesses that I met, and they were new to business. The gentleman had just kind of retired, and this was his retirement plan to open up this business. And they were in this downtown, tiny little space, and they're the only like local hardware store in Elsa. And so if they didn't have it, people were driving to Westaco or driving to Edinburgh to Lowe's and Home Depot and those places. And so initially I met them, brought them in through the Google Business Audit, and then we started inviting them to our Coffee and Connect. And then another program that I started is called Leadership Elsa, and I kind of revamped the leadership program. And what we do is we leverage our relationship with UTRGV, and we bring in professors to teach classes, and we teach customer service, AI and tech, and leadership skills. And so this husband and wife joined my first leadership cohort, and they were part of it. They got to meet people from the city and people from the community. And in the middle of all that, they jumped into my Lift Elsa program, and they were able to leverage our Lift fund to get money to kind of shore up their business and cash flow. And from there, they've expanded to a space 4 times their size, and they've quadrupled their footprint. They've hired more employees, and that same space was a place that I knew through different brokers that we work with, that an Ace Hardware and some other bigger names were looking at coming into the space. And so, if they came in, it may have killed that small business, right? And they would have had direct competition. But the fact that they were able to stack the different programs, build the resources that they have, grow, and now I think they've hired maybe 5 more employees or something like that, I think that's a success in itself. And so a lot of times EDCs, they want the Cheesecake Factory or the HEB or different things like that, because that creates 50 new jobs. But if we help 10 small businesses grow by 5 jobs, now, we've shored up our local business owners, we've shored up the community itself, and now that becomes a huge success story because it's homegrown. And so growing the roots from within and giving those people the opportunity to stack the different resources that we provide to them, I think is a huge success story. So super proud of Express Hardware and everything that they've done. It's still a risk for them, and they're nervous, but we're super excited to have that kind of story, because that's the kind of story that creates the momentum for the people behind them.
I love it. I love it.
I want to say I've been with the Rio Grande City EDC for 10 years, and within those 10 years, I have seen so many of I can't even really just pick one. We have had so many of our small businesses succeed tremendously. I do find that for the previously, before COVID, there was this mentality like, oh, well, no hay nada en Rio Grande, you know, like there's nothing there. Let's go to McAllen. Let's, you know, go to somewhere else. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because COVID, the lockdown was terrible. We did see that our community rallied with each other, and we saw that we did have the population for retail. We did see our small businesses grow. We had Joyeria Daisy, who had a small, I mean, they've been in business since the 80s, almost like 40 years. They had a small little store, and they moved into the new development in a brand new building. We had a fitness center that started off in a small little suite, and they expanded to like 3 more additions. We've had, like I said, just so many others that have succeeded over the years, and that's because, you know, like they did reach out and get resources. They did reach out and to us or to our partners, and that's on them. Like Rio Grande City has a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and talking with them over the years, it's kind of like they will get out there and start doing it themselves. And if you can help them, awesome. But if you can't, you know what? Thank you, but get out of my way. I'm going to go do it myself.
Well, resiliency, probably, within all these different small businesses. All right, so to wrap it up, we talked about your communities, we talked about your resources, how you support them. So, but why do you do what you do as a person? So, Justin, maybe one word or maybe 3, you know, tell me, because I do believe that economic developers is not necessarily something that you went to school for, but it's something that you know, develop those skill set to be able to serve, because we're, in a way, public servants. You know, we do this for communities. But what drives you in working in this field, and, you know, what makes you say, I want to be here, I want to do this, I want to help this community, small community? So go for it. Short and sweet, guys.
God.
Next. I don't have one word.
I don't have one
multiple
either.
Words.
Maybe a couple, maybe.
I just want to be a catalyst for growth and regional growth. Like I'm the champion for the city of Donna, for the community I work for, but regionalism that's at my heart, right? So I just want to be a catalyst for that.
I want to help. I feel I'm going to a little bit more. I feel God works through us. So I want to help somebody. So I want to be somebody's answer to their prayer.
Mine's not going to be a word, but one of my favorite quotes is, be the change you want to see. And so I can't stand when people say, you know, there's nothing to do, or there's nothing to see, or there's nothing, you know, just then make something to do or make something to see. Or so if you can affect change and create that within your own community, I think it's a ripple effect. And so back to just be the changes you want to see. If you want to see something, then you can create it or build it.
I love it. Give it up to our panelists. What an inspiration. What a story. These communities are doing everything, and these leaders are doing everything to support communities. But you can connect with them. You can talk to them. You can expand to their cities if you want to. So as they come off the stage, please connect with them. Sorry, we don't have time for questions, but you can connect with them and ask them a couple of questions. I know April is a little busy, so, you know, you might want to connect for her through, you know, other means. But, you know, this is what we're here for, and I am so proud that you guys were part of this panel. Thank you so much for your participation. Love that you were able to highlight part of the Rio Grande Valley that we all cherish so much, which are your cities. Thank you so much for being here today. So we have some sessions going on in the back. Run, people. Run to those sessions because they're great sessions right now. We have a session on leadership and a session on workforce evolution. So workforce evolution, harnessing AI. I knew I was going to mess up at one point in time, you know, in the PNC room, and leaders who care in the Coca-Cola room, please.